This is Seven Seas Cruising Association, and we'll let some of the other people come into the webinar. We are streaming live to YouTube as well as recording. I'll give it a few more minutes to let people join. It's 6 o'clock, and this is Seven Seas Cruising Association. I'm Joan Conover. I'm one of the members of the board. This topic of this seminar is Destination Long Island Sound. We have hosts Mary Beth and John Amante, and we have guests Keith Davie and Nicole Dunbar, who will be participating in question and answer or in areas as people want to transit further north from Long Island. I'd like to thank our sponsor, NOAA, for allowing us to be able to have this webinar. And then also during this webinar, you'll be seeing screenshots from Waterway Guide, from NOAA charts. You may see some pieces from Aquamap, which shows the most recent shoaling data for some harbors. It's an excellent smartphone app that you can use on your device. Waterway Guide, we recommend getting the Waterway Guide. There's a recent 2021 northern area for Cape May, all the way to the to the Hudson River and Long Island areas. Guides, charts, and then there's weather. And weather, we personally like Chris Parker, and I know John and Mary Beth use him heavily there as a person to give the best live information on weather as it's happening. We also like predictwind.com. It models the data, it gives you an idea of what's happening, because charts, guides, and weather are one of the reasons you stay safe on the Long Island Sound. I'm going to stop my share and let John.
Let's see.
Continue.
We're new at this, everyone. I know.
Oh, no.
This one?
Yeah, that's our phone.
Oh, that. There you go. All right.
Alrighty. Wow. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's our pleasure to be here. We have been planning this webinar for several months, and now it's time to do it. My name is Mary Beth Amante, and my husband, John, will do the slideshow and join in the conversation. Where he's going to join in, I have no idea. John and I are Seven Seas Cruising Association port hosts for the Long Island Sound, and we are happy to take this opportunity to introduce or reintroduce you to the waters and ports we have come to love and know so well. I've been sailing since 1985, and John pretty much all his life. All right, let's begin our travels. Most access the Long Island Sound through New York Harbor and the East River, passing under the Verrazano Bridge, past the Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and Lower Manhattan, which is referred to as the Battery.
This is the Verrazano Bridge. It's the major approach into New York Harbor if you haven't done it. Very easily navigation. And the Statue of Liberty, which is just inside the harbor. Also some great spots to anchor if you don't mind a bit of wake. And we'll take it up to the next one.
Okay. Like any big harbors, there are many ships, cargo, tankers, barges, and cruise ships. And there are at least 7 ferries going in any direction to many locations, and many transit any hour of the day. I suggest stopping on the New Jersey side of the Hudson River, although expensive, but the view of Manhattan is spectacular. Liberty Landing Marina is located in Liberty State Park, along with several restaurants and a science museum. They also have a 9/11 memorial You can look between two rows of marble with the names of those who live in New Jersey and lost their lives on that horrific day. There you will be able to view and focus on the site where the original towers once stood. Many ferries dock at the marina with access to Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, and Manhattan.
Liberty Landing at last count was $6 a foot per night, which is kind of pricey, but you can literally hop on a ferry and be in downtown Manhattan in a matter of 10 minutes. Do everything you could do in Manhattan and be back at the marina in another 10 minutes. So it's the location, it's really super to transit from.
Docks on the Manhattan side are not protected and subject to wakes. All right, to the Long Island Sound we go with the current up the East River, passing several bridges. I call them BMW bridges, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Williamsburg. There was an old retired German tug captain that would drive the launches at our yacht club. We asked for suggestions on how to transit the river, and in his German accent, he said, "Stay in the middle." While that might be good for tugs, it's not so for sailboats. There are several places in the river you need to watch for buoys. On one transit, we were too early to pass through Hellgate. So we thought, we're gonna have some fun. We stopped the boat to see how long it would take the river current to turn the boat 180 degrees. What we didn't realize, we were right in front of the United Nations building. We looked up to see 5 guns pointed at us from the seawall. Needless to say, they didn't think it was funny. Further upriver is Roosevelt Island, important to keep it to starboard. Next, you travel under the 59th Street Bridge, you know, the Simon and Garfunkel song. Further upriver is Hellgate. It's where 3 currents meet: East River, Harlem River, and the Long Island Sound. Best to transit at slack tide to avoid whirlpools.
This is a picture of Hellgate at slack tide, and you can still see the current that's there. At full tide, either way, ebb or flow, there are giant whirlpools that are in here, which you can certainly go through, but you'd rather not. It is called Hellgate for a reason, but it's easy navigation if you're going with the right currents. I think we have, here we go, another slide that Joan provided for us, which I think is real depiction of the amount of current that travels through that little slice of the river. So it's something that you should really look at the tide charts and be sure that you've got it timed properly. On our last trip back from Bahamas and Florida, we, by luck, timed it perfectly, arrived at the Verrazano Bridge at midnight, and came through New York Harbor, which we've done several times, in the dark with all the traffic, all the commercial traffic going on. That led us right into Hellgate at the right moment, and we took the flood tide all the way out through the Sound. It was not by total plan, but by amount of time that we arrived at the Verrazano. But the tides are significant, and I can't say that enough.
Continuing, we pass Rikers Island Prison, now closed. You also pass a large prison ship. It's a converted ro-ro ship, also empty, thanks to the wonderful New York City mayor. Next is LaGuardia Airport. Several runways are constructed over the water, and depending on the wind direction, a plane will pass overhead about every 2 minutes. Generally, the Connecticut side of the Sound has rocks and the Long Island side sand. Also good to note is on most nights, there is a southerly wind direction, which makes the Long Island side more comfortable to anchor or moor.
Just a little geology which formed the Long Island Sound. When the glaciers came across the country, they stopped at the edge of Connecticut. All of the material that created Long Island was the broken up rocks from the glaciers, and therefore Long Island has mostly sandy beachfronts, while Connecticut has granite and solid rock underneath. And we have a beautiful sound in between to go play.
This presentation of the Long Island Sound will be from west to east, covering both sides of the Sound. So we will be sailing across the Sound as we travel west to east. 2 more bridges, Whitestone and Throgs Neck. Under the Throgs Neck to port is SUNY Maritime. And a little southeast to starboard is the United States Merchant Marine Academy. We're proud to say our son graduated from USMMA in 1999. It seems like he just threw his hat in the air at the end of graduation. Where did the time go?
Just a little footnote, the USMMA is the old Chrysler mansion. So goes back to the time when the cars were, it was an industry. They were magnates.
It's extremely important to keep Stepping Stones Lighthouse to starboard. As the name suggests, there are multiple rocks to shore. On the Long Island Sound is Manhasset Bay. It has a large mooring field and several marinas. Anchorage is on the west side of the mooring field. This stop is great for provisioning. A small dock in the northeast corner of the harbor is across the street from a large Stop and Shop grocery store. There is a small town with shops, restaurants, and a library. A favorite of many is Louis, a restaurant on the water. When you exit Manhasset Bay, on the port side will be Execution Rocks Lighthouse. Folklore has it that pirates were shackled to the rocks and drowned as the tide rose. You can still see the shackles in low tide. You can transit safely on either side of the lighthouse. Continuing on the Long Island side is Oyster Bay, which also has a large mooring field. You can walk or Uber to Teddy Roosevelt's summer home. Look for nautical items. You will be surprised how many you can find. In town, there are shops, restaurants, and parks. There may even be a Billy Joel sighting. You never know.
He has a house on Center Island.
And he comes over with his motorcycle. On the Connecticut side is Greenwich, a quaint town where restaurants and shops are a short walk from the yacht club or a restaurant with a small amount of dockage. You can also anchor behind Captain's Islands. In the summer, a ferry goes to the beaches. We're now sailing across the Sound to the Long Island side, southeast. Just before Eaton's Neck and the Coast Guard station head south. You can anchor in the Coast Guard inlet overnight, but it will be bumpy if they have a call. Further south is a cement lighthouse, the Huntington Lighthouse, commissioned during the time of George Washington. South of the lighthouse is Huntington Harbor. Moorings and dockage are available within walking distance to a grocery store, Huntington Hospital, and town.
So this chart shows the entrance into Huntington Bay, and the lighthouse is down here. And this is Huntington Harbor, which is really convenient to get into town. They also have a really authentic Mexican restaurant within a short cab ride from the moorings. If you want to dinghy in, or in here, there are some bigger marinas if you're looking for a slip.
Moorings and dockages are available within walking distance. West of the lighthouse is Lloyd Harbor, with moorings on both sides of the channel. For whatever reason, the power boaters mostly moor on the north side of the channel and sail mostly on the south side. During the week, you can pick up just about any mooring. Moorings are mostly used on weekends. Anchorage is east of the southern mooring field. but don't go too close to the lighthouse. Rocks are submerged at high tide. East of Lloyd Harbor, 2 harbors down, is our home port, Northport. Moorings and a small amount of dock space are available. Some anchor north of the mooring field. We have received permission for SSCA travelers to moor at our yacht club as paying guests of the Amantes. Flying the SSCA Burgee would help as well. You now have access to the club and may use the pool, restaurant, and showers with launch service. Northport is also a quaint town with parks, restaurants, and the Engelman Theater. The theater is a favorite of the locals. Most actors are from Broadway or off Broadway. If you know your schedule, purchase tickets early. Most performances sell out quickly. Also, there is a Vanderbilt home, museum, and planetarium you will need to Uber to. The Vanderbilts are noted for their travels and expeditions. You will find artifacts from all over the globe in this museum. Clammers sometimes still find golf balls, as Mr. Vanderbilt would practice golf by driving golf balls from the top of the museum into the water. It was another time back then. The sunsets are to die for. I know you've seen some impressive sunrises and sunsets, but these sunsets will amaze you. This is our home. Please call us. We can meet for a drink, or I can give you a ride to the local Stop and Shop. If you call or text, please leave a message. If we don't recognize the number, we sometimes block it. Back to Connecticut. Norwalk Town offers limited overnight dockage available on the town dock on a first come, first served basis. Across the street is an IMAX theater and aquarium. The town is called Sono, short for South Norwalk, a takeoff on Soho in Manhattan for south of Houston Street. The shops and restaurants come and go, and there are more marina facilities before you reach the town dock, or you can anchor behind the Norwalk Islands, but it's a long dinghy ride to the town docks. Next, we're back on the Long Island side at Port Jefferson. As you are entering the harbor, past the breakwater to starboard is Conscience Bay. Small buoys, good depth. Moorings to port, and like Lloyd Harbor, are rarely used during the week. Plenty available. Anchorages to starboard. Returning to the main channel heading south, there are rental moorings. Town is right there with parks, shops, and restaurants. In Port Jeff, there are ferries to Connecticut that travel at 12 knots, so expect some wakes. Continuing on the Long Island side is Mattituck. It's a short ride to the end of the river where you'll find a marina and anchorage. It is a short walk to Love Lane. There you will find shops, restaurants, and a small shop to get a few provisions. You can Uber to many of the Long Island wineries, around 50 at last count, so I'm told. There are several companies that offer tours. When they planted the first vineyard, Long Islanders thought they were crazy, but it seems Long Island is on the same latitude as the vineyards in France. The rest is history. Further east on Connecticut side are Branford and Westbrook. Both have a large amount of dockage space. Before you go into Westbrook, you can anchor in Duck Island Roads. Between Branford and Westbrook are the Thimble Islands, made of granite, and at sunset look like they are on fire. You need local knowledge to transit between the islands, or you can get into serious trouble. Continuing on the Connecticut side is the Connecticut River. There is dockage when you first enter. Further upriver on the port side is a harbor of refuge in North Cove, dredged a couple of years ago. I still recommend, if you draw 5 feet or more, to pick up moorings on the first row of either side of the channel. Moorings that are available have a yellow ribbon tied to them. Free if you access land through a tiny town dock. If you use the yacht club dock, you will be charged, but you have launch service and shower accessibility. It is a short walk to a small town. You will come to a drawbridge just north of North Cove, where you will encounter a crabby bridge tender.
Crabby.
He will not respond to your call unless you use the proper name for the bridge. He insists you call it the Old Lime Draw. Never use Connecticut River Bridge or the Railroad Bridge. Once our yacht club was out cruising when a hurricane was coming our way. Needless to say, we cut our cruise short. We asked old Crabby what time was the first opening. We were told, we're here 24/7, 365 days. Lo and behold, when we there about 3:30 a.m., it took over a half hour to wake the operator, and we were using the correct name.
Another time when we were coming up to the Old Line Draw, the operator was having a conversation with a boat that had a very deep Southern accent, and a delightful woman was on the radio. And she said, we're nearing the bridge and we'd like to know when you open. And he said in his crabbiest response, you're not near the bridge unless I can see the whites of your eyes. That's what you have to deal with, but he's the only game in town, so be polite.
Further upriver, there are lots of osprey and a couple of nesting bald eagles. You will see in Essex many houses built before the Revolution, which you will not see in other Connecticut towns. The story goes, the British did not believe that there were no ships. The British promised not to burn the town if they gave up the ships. The ships were hidden in Selden Creek. The townspeople gave up the ships and saved their town. In Essex, Connecticut, you will find marinas and moorings. Essex is another quaint town with shops that come and go. Also in Essex, there is a well-known restaurant and inn, the Griswold Inn and Restaurant, affectionately called the Grizz. It's from Revolutionary times and not a straight floor in the place. The original small bar has nightly entertainment. Come early, so popular at times, there is no standing room available. One night a week, the actors on their night off come from the Goodspeed Theater. Continuing upriver on the starboard is Hamburg Cove. Follow the buoys, don't miss any, and don't be afraid to come close to the shore where marked there is plenty of water. The town moorings are inexpensive, but you guessed it, many take private moorings during the week. Hamburg Cove is noted for its beauty and peacefulness. The only time it's noisy is when our yacht club is cruising and stopping there. The kids love to dinghy, jump off their boats or water floats. North of Hamburg Cove is another favorite spot of our yacht club. It's our annual dinghy ride on Selden Creek. It's upriver from Hamburg Cove. And as you are in the Connecticut River to travel to the inlet, I suggest you take this trip midweek only. On weekends, there's too much boat traffic. The wakes are horrendous. The creek is U-shaped, so you enter and exit in a different location. Once in Selden Creek, you feel like you are back in time. For most of the trip, there is no sight of houses, just nature and large Connecticut granite walls. Some shackles from the Revolution for hiding the ships are visible. Toward the end of the creek, or just past the exit of the creek, there are small clearings with a picnic table and sometimes a rope swing for the children. We all enjoy a picnic lunch. Adults have a drink while the children enjoy the rope swing. What can be better than that? There are 3 ways of leaving the Long Island Sound. You can exit through the gut. There are several ferries that transit the gut. Watch out, especially if they are passing each other in the gut. Once through the gut, turning west will bring you to Greenport, where you can walk to Provision. Greenport, Shelter Island, and Sag Harbor, all are good places to visit, and all are quite different.
They're all in Gardiner's Bay, and you could spend a week just going from harbor to harbor in Gardiner's Bay. It's such a beautiful spot. I highly recommend you try it.
Once through the gut, you could head east to the Block Island Sound and to Block Island. East of the gut, you can transit the Sound through the race. Both the gut and the race should be exited with the current. As we say, it just spits you out. Once through the race, you are in Block Island Sound, east to Block Island or south to the tip of Long Island, Montauk. If you don't exit through the gut or race, you can continue east to the Thames River, New London, Connecticut, another area for ferry traffic and now submarine traffic. Upriver are the Coast Guard Academy and the Groton Subbase. At the end of a long ride upriver is America's Wharf Marina, with shuttles to both Mohegan Sun and Foxwood casinos. Before reaching the marina, you pass Mohegan Sun. The outside is all glass, and the reflection of the sun on the glass is something to see.
Transiting past the submarine base, they have 2 security boats with operators on the bow manning the machine guns. As you go by, they shadow the boat until you're completely past the sub base. I always laugh because we do about 6.5 knots and they can easily catch us. I don't know why they have to stay so close.
Here, when you are leaving the Long Island Sound, it becomes Fisher's Island Sound. To port is Mystic River. Go upriver to the end to Mystic Seaport Whaling Museum. There are plenty of docks and moorings just before the 2 drawbridges, but the best dock ever is right in the seaport. When the seaport closes, only the boaters staying at the seaport are there. Walking the streets of the seaport at night, you again feel you are back in time. The whaling seaport has the only remaining whaling ship, the Charles W. Morgan. It recently has been fully restored. It is seaworthy, and before being placed in its present location, it sailed to several ports on way to Boston. Before it returning, it made a stop in Provincetown. At Provincetown, there are many whales spending the summer before they return south for the winter. The Morgan, with crew, enacted in period garb a reenactment of the whaling expedition with their small boats, following the whales, minus the harpoons, of course. As with most tourist towns, there are many shops, etc. in walking distance from the seaport. Many grab a slice from Mystic Pizza. There are pictures from the movie throughout the restaurant. Leaving Fisher's Island Sound, continue east to Newport or southeast to Block Island. I mentioned Block Island many times as it's our favorite place to sail. I could do a full hour presentation on just Block Island. Most boaters will visit Block Island before going to Newport, Rhode Island. Newport is very busy all year long, but especially during summer and during the jazz and folk festivals. Moorings are first come, first serve, and dockage sells out quickly. If you know your schedule, you should make reservations as early as you can. Here there are buses to the palatial mansions and huge homes of the rich wanting to leave Manhattan for the summer. Names like the Vanderbilts and the Astors referred to these mansions as their summer cottages. One of my favorite things to do in Newport is to stop for a drink late in the afternoon in the harbor, on the water, and watching the old America's Cup boat parade returning for the night. Shops and restaurants are too numerous to count. If you have trouble finding somewhere to stay in Newport, you can stay on the west side of the river, Jamestown, Conneticut Marina, and ferry across to Newport. Further south and east are Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. Why we love sailing the Long Island Sound. Where can you find so many ports within 100 miles or so? I have shared just a handful with you. There are so many more, and everyone has their favorite. I highly recommend the Northeast Cruising Guide so you can find your favorite.
Waterway guides are really, really important to have. They can give you the updated information and give you the insight into the towns and where you can provision it and such. This picture we threw in because it's kind of our joke is it's a rare picture of our boat on a dock. We tend not to do this, and we have a very nice time away from the marinas. But every now and then we like to give her a good bath and spoil ourselves. Our son is also a sailor, having graduated from the USMMA, and he and our grandkids and our daughter-in-law sail Gitana. This is a picture of them going to wind. He's a sailor, that's for sure. This is a picture of us on our way to the Bahamas, our first trip to the Bahamas. And this is a lazy day in Vero Beach at the Vero Beach City Marina mooring field, where we've met so many great SSCA cruisers and other cruisers in our time. And it would not be complete without a beautiful sunset on the ICW. We woke up one morning with the most magnificent sunrise. We had the most magnificent sunset, and then we discovered that it was a bug infestation day, and our boat was covered with thousands and thousands of little green bugs.
Oh, well.
Which all left, and we continued our trip.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you soon on the Long Island Sound.
Do I need to turn that over? How do we turn that back? Oh, there she goes. Joan, are you there?
There
You saved us.
I want to thank you for a wonderful presentation. Now, for those who are participating, there's a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And if you had questions, you can ask them. I see we have a chat question here. And both Keith and Nicole, and I hear thank you from Steve Lerner to all panelists. Thank you for that, Steve. John and Mary Beth and Keith and Nicole can answer any questions that you have, if you have them. This is recorded and will be on YouTube. It's been streamed live, but it will also be on YouTube. As attendees, you'll get links to it. And then John and Keith will also get links to it. Hi, Nicole. And really, you know, Keith and Nicole are up in Maine, and there are hosts in Maine. They did a wonderful webinar in Maine, that area. So then we thought we would do the Long Island, so we can kind of merge the two together. There's a Maine webinar that talks the bays there, and then we have Long Island. And I think that gives a chance for some of the boats heading north or already there to know where to go. And as John and Mary Beth said, you come to their marina, your SSCA, you get a wonderful deal. And they're probably going to be helping us with some other events later this next coming year in the area. Keith, did you have anything to say? Was there anything in you've sailed the Sound a bit.
Well, we've done transit in each direction, so I can't say that we have a lot of experience. And many of the harbors actually that the Amante's pointed out are spots that we have made in our transit. But remember too that our northbound return to Maine last year was right in the middle of COVID. So we weren't going ashore, we weren't getting off the boat barely for that entire, all we did was collect balloons out on the Sound,
Yep.
put them in the trash where they belonged. and kept moving for the most part. We're particularly fond of the North Shore of Fisher's Island as one of our anchorages as we transit through. We've used it in both directions and have just really enjoyed that. We are not particularly urban people, so we go through New York City as quickly as possible. We get through Hellgate, and then we can breathe again. So that's what we have from that.
Now you will notice at the bottom of the screen, there are Bethania, Daniela, George, and Pamela. And I just invite them in. And if they would like to ask questions or anything, you're more than welcome to join us if that's of interest. And I don't see any questions. Well, yes, there's Pamela.
This is Pamela, and we so enjoyed this webinar. And I would like to say that the detail, the carefulness, and the love about cruising absolutely came through. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Very appreciated.
Yes, it is.
And
Well, we did too. We appreciated it.
we're all volunteers. We just want to have people have cruising fun, be safe, and just enjoy. That's the most important part.
Well,
Joan, one thing. Oops.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Pamela.
Oh, I am not an urban person as well. We are not. And this actually got me a little interested in, well, maybe we will do Long Island Sound.
Mm-hmm.
So there, you achieved the goal.
There you
Well,
go.
that's great.
And come on
So
up
thank
to
you
Maine.
very much.
And then come on up to Maine. You know, it's going to be kind of crowded up there, Keith, because Canada extended that closure through July 21st, I think it is.
Right.
And
We are anticipating that there will probably be a few more boats hanging out. On the other hand, Maine is a really big place.
It is.
So I don't think we're going to be crowded per se. I did want to mention, actually, Nikki and I, of course, are the cruising station hosts in Rockland Harbor for the SSCA. So if we have any folks that are thinking about coming up to Maine, check on the website for the contact information for cruising stations. And Nikki and I will be happy to help anybody that comes into the Rockland area. Anything we can do.
well, it sounds like a handout from John and Mary Beth up to you guys, or vice versa, depending on the season, which way you're going. Well, thank you very much. It's very appreciated. We appreciate everyone who's a guest. We realize that the live stream on YouTube, they can't say anything. So it's only the ones who register that can talk. But we appreciate it. It's very, very many thanks to you, John and Mary Beth, and to Keith and Nicole too.
No
for all the
problem.
things you do.
We loved it.
Anyone on the live stream can look us up on SSCA and give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out.
Thank you very much. And I will